a lot of you don't need to download this, but some of you were not, and I'm going to upload a couple images into the classroom chat, and I need you to download those because those are important to what we're doing. My thing will behave.
Which channel?
In the class chat. Classroom chat. There they are.
I see. Which files?
They are popping up right now.
Cool.
So
Ooh.
those are going to be references. If you were here yesterday, then you already have them. Our first step is we're going to talk about uploading these so that we can use them as a reference image. Who is in... well, I won't ask. I just know that there are people in 2.79, and I know that there are people in 3. So I'm going to try to cover how to upload in both. 3 different. I will try to see if there's a way to get it to upload the same way that 2.79 does. But I'm going to start with 2.79 first. And so from here, we have our startup file. I'm not going to touch anything there yet. There is this little plus up here. You're going to click that and bring out your preferences and properties. This is a good window to get acquainted with for your scaling, your dimensions, your location, your rotation, a lot of other things, but we're not going to cover that right now because I don't want to overload you guys. If you scroll down, it says background images. You might need to scroll, you might not need to scroll, depending on how your screen is. But you want to find the tab that says background images and click add image. There will activate as well as give you this panel. We're going to do this twice because we have 2 images that we're referencing. So click open and find where your are. We're going to open Ram's Horn Ref first. And I can't see it yet. There's a reason for that. I need to hit 5 on my number pad, or like we covered with Eliza yesterday, need help transforming your top bar into a number pad. There's a way to do that. Just let me know. But it's 5, which will put it in ortho view, and 1, which will put it at a straight on view. And now we see our handsome lad. But we're not done. We have to add the second one. So add image again, and it will give you a file. Hit open, and find Ram's Horns Ref 2. And there's our other handsome lad, but we are overlapping. That's not what we want. We want to change these views. So for the one that we just did, the Ref 2, we're going to find the drop-down menu that says all views and change that to right. And now he's gone. We just have our front view guy. But if I hit 3, oh no, they're overlapping again. Go back up to the first image, which is just ref, all views, and front. So now when I am in side view, I'm seeing my guy. And when I am in view, I'm seeing my other guy, which is 1 and 3 on your number pad or on your number bar. If you are in Blender 3 or 3.0, 3.2, 3.1, it's a bit of a different process. You want to go to edit and your preferences and go to add-ons and make sure you have import images as planes activated. Activate that, save, and then go to file and import, and now you have the button that is images as planes. Same thing that I just did, and upload them both. And for you, it might still look plain. You still can't see them in ortho in 3 or 1 views. There is a selection of circles at the top above the drop down where it says options in the top right. You're going to click the one that says viewport shading, and that will enable your images that you just uploaded on these planes to be seen. Manipulating these two between 2.7 and 3 are different. With 3, you're just going to move it around like it is mesh normally. Hit the G button and move it to win it. With 2.7, you have to go to the slider bars that will manipulate it that way, because it's generating these images imposed in different ways. Is everyone clear on that so far?
I am.
And if I lose you at some point, give it away. If I can backtrack a couple minutes, I don't want to keep you guys for too long, so I am trying to pace this so we get to the same point as we did yesterday, so that both classes are relatively at the same point. So from here, just do the same thing, get your images manipulated to where it would work best. I'm going to do that with my guy here and kind of line him up to where the horn would be if this cube was a head. Speaking of which, let's get rid of all of this stuff. The cube, the sun, and the camera angle. We don't need that stuff right now. We could just hit A couple times until it's all highlighted, and hit X and throw it away. Instead, if you have Avastar, load up your Avastar mesh with Shift A and click Avastar. We just need basic. Or how I'm going to do it is I'm just going to upload a UV sphere, and that's going to be my head, because I know not everyone has Avastar. But if you have Avastar, use it. I will try to get a head file out there so that we can use that for later. But for now, this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to line up my images to about where a head would be. And then go into side view. And if it's like the size of that may not look like the same size as that, you can shrink it. You know, there is a size scroller, which again you can manipulate by clicking and scrubbing, or just clicking the arrows. You can also rotate it. You can a lot of manipulations you could do with that. You could also do the same thing with the imported planes in 3. So let me get this guy lined up to about where I want my horn to be. And if you can't see it because there's a circle in the way, you can turn it from being behind your mesh to in front of your mesh. You can control the opacity that, okay, great, it's in front, but now I can't see anything. You can bring it down and still kind of get a general idea of what you're looking at. And what this basically enables is tracing. You can trace with mesh, with referencing. Like I mentioned in the other chat a few minutes ago, though, be careful how you do said tracing. You don't want to take someone's drawing and completely copy it. As much as you're kind of protected by transformative copyright, you don't want to do that. It puts a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So do try to reference and make it your own at the same time. If it is like some sort of fantastical drawing. If it's an animal or something that exists, like a boat, a flower, a whatever, the flower is not going to take you to court. So you could directly trace that, of course. So I'm going to go back to my front view though. And what we're going to learn today is skin modifier as well as the curve modifier. Now I did it a little different yesterday. I did it out of step for two things. So I'm going to do it the right way today. No flower lawyers. Illegal. So from here, I want to hit Shift A and put in a plane because it has the least amount of vertices. Now the reason for that is because I'm going to twist this and go into edit mode with tab, shift and deselect one of those vertices. Doesn't matter which, pick your favorite, and then delete the rest. So you just have this one lone dot. If you lose track of where that dot is, hitting A will find it as well. Just keep hitting A until it appears. Now, it is not attached to our head here. That's a problem, because horns need to be on a head. So from here, hit Shift S and put selection to cursor. And that's going to make it jump to where this red and white circle is. It's pretty nifty. And then from here, we're going to extrude it with the E key. I do a lot of hotkeys. So again, if I lose you at a hotkey, ask. I'll repeat it. I do try to point out where you could do it over in the other tabs and stuff like that, but hotkeys make things so easy and so quick. So we're going to hit E and Z so that it only travels upward. And just to about there for now. It's not a big deal. I can't see my vertice in the middle here though. I need to fix that. How I do that, and it's the same thing in 3. It's just in a different location in 3. I believe. Let me double check that. Okay. In 3, it is in the top right-hand corner, and it's called Toggle X-Ray. In 2.7, it's this little square down here, and it's obviously called something different, Limit Selection to Visible. And now I could see the line and vertices inside my head. Now we're not done here, because if we try to put a curve on this, it's just going to be a straight line, no matter what. So we want to hit Control R, and if you have a scroll wheel, scroll it up to 16. If you don't have a scroll wheel, just type in 16 and enter. If you have a scroll wheel, scroll it to 16 and hit your left key or your right key, depending on which kind of setting you have for your blender. And now we have 18 vertices, including our top and bottom. That's still not looking quite like a horn, so let's fix that. We're going to go to the wrench, or the spanner for our British friends, and click Add Modifier. And we're going to scroll down to Skin, and it should be, the spanner. Yes, it's the same in 3, and that's still not right. That's chunky. That's too chunky. So we add another modifier, which is Subdivide Surface. That's still weird looking. It's not quite horn looking. We can fix that by clicking this Smooth Shading box. And now we got something a little bit more organic. Now, another thing that we want to set up before we keep going is click your bottom vertice and mark root. That's important. And from here, we don't need to do anything else yet. We're going to tab out and hit Shift A again and add a Bezier curve. Like I've mentioned, you could make these horns. You could create a tube and just extrude over and over and over again, which gives you, fine tuning. But good God, that's going to take you forever. You don't want that. We want to do this quick. We've got deadlines to keep up with, or something. I don't know. I'm not your mom. But we're going to go into edit mode. You can't see it. It's there. See, there's my curve. And if you lose it, you just go up here in the scene selection and click your Bezier. Now what I want to do is tab into edit mode on this and hit G, X, and just move it until, I'm not sure if you can see it, there is a center point right there, and you want to move that to the origin point. It doesn't have to be precise, just the closer the better. And then, cat's peeing. And then we're going to rotate. One more trick. We're going to adjust a pivot point. Right now, it's probably set to median point on your viewers. We want to turn it to 3D cursor. Double check. In 3, it is directly in the middle at the top. Transform pivot point. It's right next to the magnet button, and you want to set it to 3D cursor, because then what I'm going to do is I am going to rotate this R, Y, -90, and now it's sticking straight up. Well, the straight up as curve is set to. Tab out and hit Control A to set your rotation. That's all you need to do for that. Now go back to your stick that you've made. We're going to add our curve modifier. So under deform, find curve, and you want to find your object. Now it's hidden in there, so the eyedropper won't quite work here. It might. Let me see. No, it's just picking up what's on the surface. So click the line instead, and there's your curve. Select that, and no, well, it's doing something it shouldn't be doing. Let's fix that. You can tell it which axis you want it to talk to, or that curve that you just made and transformed. So, is that right? But that is right. Z is now following in the direction we want it to follow. And now this mesh is following this curve a lot more precisely than how I showed you yesterday. Yesterday was not exactly wrong, but this way you get a more precise manipulation. Now, from here, we could go back to our Bezier curve, which you could select up here, tab into edit mode, and now the whole thing moves with your curve. From here, it's wiggling between these two views we see. I'm going to start with the side view because I want him, I want it to obviously be lined up with a forehead. So I'm going to get out of it pivoting around the 3D cursor. I want it to go back to the median point. And once you do that, I'm going to hit R, Z, 180. And now I've reversed its rotation. Get it to about there because that's where my horn is. And then rotate it. And this is the part where it just kind of like go ahead and freestyle and wiggle things around to where you want it and how you want it. If you get these hard angles, like you see here, you can fix that by hitting S with this center point selected. Hit S, and now you can scroll the dimension of this angle of this curve. Or you can click the side points and manipulate it that way as well. There's different ways of doing this. I tend to just stick with the scaling because it keeps things precise until you start getting into wanting a more organic look. It's not quite fitting an exact. You're making something that isn't exact. So that's where knowing how to extend this comes in handy, because now you've got a way different look than just keeping it to a relative size. Now, this isn't completing my circle here. What you do from there is you hit E and you keep just extruding out your curve. Now we hit our next problem. This curve, this mesh is not long enough to keep following this curve. How do we fix that? Tab out of edit mode on your curve and click your mesh piece. Hit S to scale it. Hit Z so it only goes in one direction. And now it's going to follow that curve and elongate. Now you're not adding vertices. You're only stretching the 18 vertices we created. So just keep that in mind. If you need more vertices because you need more action in your curves, you can always go back into edit mode, and a quick way to do it is hit A and W and you can subdivide, and now there's double the vertices. But I'm going to edit undo. I don't want all those vertices right now, but that's just how you can do it. Now let me find my Bezier curve again, go back into edit mode, and now I should be able to complete this curve of this horn. Okay, so there's our new problem. It went into the circle because we were just looking at it at a flat direction. That's where the front view reference will come in handy. Now, what I like to do at this point is I hit A, so I hit all my points, and shift and click to deselect my main point here. And then you can just G, X, and move things, deselect one at a time with G and X, and get that natural ram's horn look. And still not long enough, so let's scale Z and extend it back. And like here at this point, this would be a good time to start manipulating the side points. Grab them and move them to how you want to create the shape. Or just rotate it like I did when creating these extrusions. The only thing you cannot do is you cannot go back and do Control R and add a point between, if I tried to put another point between these two, you can't do that with a curve. You would have to kind of backtrack it and then extrude another length. So that's where it differs between mesh and curve. And then from there we have our horn. Just scale him a little bit longer. Oops. Curve. And now we've got a pretzel on his head. So let's fix that part now. Go tab out edit mode on your line, and don't worry about it going straight up, because it doesn't talk to the curve modifier because it's not applied yet. And we don't want it applied yet. What we want to do is we want to scale this mesh, this imposed mesh that the skin modifier is creating, but it doesn't scale like you would think. If I hit scale, it's not going to extend the mesh. You can see. I want to click my bottom point here and hit Control A, and now it's going to grow that mesh. Now, problem is though, it's not doing anything uniform. You know, I would have to do it one at a time, and that is not effective, as you can see. And yeah, you can get a fine-tuned feel for it, or you can click O, or go down here to the proportion editing and enable. And with that enabled, if I hit Control A, there's now this circle. You can't see it because it's about the same size as my sphere, but let me zoom in a little. Control A, and with your scroll wheel, you can make it bigger or smaller. And that is your area of effect, basically. So if I scroll it up, now I'm affecting more and more points. If I scroll it down, I'm affecting less points. And those are all, it's like an echo, I guess, is a good way to put it. It's echoing for as big as you have created the sphere, and then scaling it with a pull of your mouse. Now, that looks about where I want it for a ram's horn. I'm going to do the same, but in reverse at the top here, just to narrow it down a little bit. And bring this in a little. There we go. Now I've got a cone head. Tab out, and now we've got something a little bit more akin to a ram's horn. From here, I'm not going to go too far because we would be then getting ahead of the other class. I am going to tell you, first of all, go into File and Save As, and we're going to call this Ram's Horn Class 2, and I will upload this into the classroom chat, so if you were maybe just following along and watching and not doing, you can now upload this and play with it at point. The other thing to do is come up here where it says Bezier curve, plane, sphere. We want to rename plane by right-clicking and clicking rename, and call it whatever you want. I'm keeping it simple. Ram horns. And the reason for this is because when you turn around to upload this into Second Life, if you leave it at plane, you're going to have a lot of planes to sort through as you go through creating things for Second Life, because it's all just going to be planes, cubes, spheres, etc. You don't want to do that. Trust me, I've done it. It's rename it. Let me hit save again so it uploads to the classroom properly. And so now I've got something looking very sheepy. Very good sheepy. It's only one side though. You can fix that with a mirror mod. And isn't he handsome? Still getting over my cold. Trying to think what else I could cover without getting too far ahead. But that's pretty much where we need to be so that the next time we pick this up, we will be in sync with the class that we had yesterday. So when we pick this back, I'm going to go into applying all of this, most of this, probably all of it. We'll see how far we get. And going into unwrapping, which is a whole animal in itself, especially with something very not conformal. You know, unwrapping a table is easier than unwrapping something organic. But I will walk you through different tricks to make it easier. We will also work out what I like to call high to low poly baking. So we are going to sculpt this. And then we're going to take the sculpt, because the sculpt is what we're going to texture for those of you who are here substance lessons as well. That is the one we're going to texture. The low poly is the one we're going to upload so that it doesn't bog down Second Life and makes Second Life an easier place for everyone to be. So that is the next time we get together, which will be the 8th and 9th, because this coming week, if you're in America or have birthdays, it is busy. But with that being said, if you want to play with either this file that I'm going to send everyone or the one that you created tonight, I am always lurking. You just need to @ me or private message me, and I will help you out if you find any roadblocks in your playing around. If you just want to ask a question that maybe I wasn't clear about tonight, that's also acceptable. I don't mind. I am always here, and if I don't answer, I'm probably asleep, and that's about it. So I'll get to you as soon as I wake up. Is there any questions? Welcome, Java.
Not currently. But I will have some later.
Of course. And Star hopefully got all of this recorded, so if you want to refer back to it as well, you know, if you want to start over from start to finish by yourself, that should be uploaded soon, I hope. We'll see.
Nice.
But yeah, that is about it. I actually finished that ahead of schedule, so that's cool. So we could you could ask questions. Star, if you want to stop.
I'll go ahead and
recording so
stop the recording. Yep.
So that people can ask questions more freely without Mike